Hello! Today's video is going to be my pasta sauce or lasagna, veggie lasagna, or what else can you use it for? Maybe ratatouille, something like that. So it's basically it's what I would use for pasta sauce. So I've got all my ingredients ready. So what I've done is I've chopped up one red onion, and it's really strong. And then I've chopped up green, yellow and red peppers. The other things that I've got handy, so I've got my olive oil to start cooking in. I have, now I'm very lazy, so I have garlic puree, and I also have lazy garlic in the fridge. I've got tomato puree to add later on. I've got my chopped tomatoes. I've also got sun-dried tomatoes, marinated artichokes, and I've also got a tin of tuna because you can add that. I like to have a bit of tuna in mine. The other things you could add, and I will add later, I just don't have them handy, is probably some sweet corn, some spinach. Sometimes I might put in, cook some barley and put that in, and then not have pasta and just have it like that. That's what I did when I was kind of trying to diet, which I'm starting again soon. So first things first, so I've got a big saucepan. Don't need one this size for these ingredients, but if I'm going to add in spinach later, I just add it straight in raw, just let it sort of wilt. That's probably about let me think, 3 teaspoons of oil probably. Not masses, you don't need loads. You can always add more when you're cooking it. If you don't cook it on too high a heat, then it won't start burning and getting stuck to the pan. The other thing that happens usually when you're cooking raw veg is the water kind of comes out of it, so it can get a bit kind of watery, but then just let the steam, let it warm up and the steam comes off. So the first thing I'm going to cook is the onions. Oh, the other thing I've got here is my herbs. Now, these are a packet of herbs that I got from the shop called Tiger, or I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, it's a packet of Mediterranean herbs, which they're quite good. I do have some basil, but I've had it for a long time and I'm not sure if it's good or not, fresh basil. So if I was adding in separate herbs, I would just add in basil and oregano, and maybe like parsley or something. So ideally I would always use fresh herbs, but it's not that practical when you're not cooking, huge amounts all the time. So I'm just going to cook off my onion a little bit. I think it's called sweating it. Now I'm using red onion, so I can see when it starts to get a bit paler. So I'll put the onion in, and then I'm going to put in my garlic as well at this point. So I'm going to squeeze what I would think is about 2 teaspoons maybe. I'm not sure. Lockdown's been great because you can eat as much garlic as you want and nobody knows. Except you when you're wearing your mask, obviously. So I'm just going to cook that off for a couple of minutes, and then I'll add in my peppers. I mean, those are the only 2 things that really need cooked as such. Well, any of the vegetables, but even if I use, for example, tinned sweet corn, which I do all the time, I'll just put it straight into the sauce when it's sort of bubbling and it just heats it up. The other thing that you can do, you can make all this with frozen veg. There's nothing, so in my freezer I've got a whole drawer just full of frozen veg, frozen sliced peppers, onions, spinach. What else? I think that's it, but I've just got loads of it. So if I was going to make this just for like one night, which never happens, but if I just had like a little bit of sauce or something, I could just grab all the stuff from the freezer and just cook it, and then add in, tinned tomatoes and all that. I'm using all fresh ingredients because when I make this, it's far too much for me. This will make enough for probably about six meals maybe. So what I do is I just portion it up and freeze half of it or more. So if I do it with frozen veg, I don't want to freeze it because then you're refreezing. However, when companies tell you like, oh, don't eat that, or don't refreeze it and stuff, I think sometimes it's a load of rubbish because I've occasionally accidentally let my freezer defrost, and I've thought, I'm not wasting all that food. So I've gone back and I've just cooked it all and eaten it, and I've been totally fine. But I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm just giving you my perspective. So that's cooking away nicely. So I've just chopped up the peppers and stuff. They're not, I mean, you can make them whatever size you want. I prefer things to be quite small. The other thing I use this mixture for is to make a lasagna. So I'll just basically make this, and then I'll make cheese sauce, and then I just layer it as you would a normal meat lasagna, and it's really nice. I love it. I like to tell people how nice it is when they're eating it, just in case they don't get that message. Okay, so that's my onions have been sort of cooking off a little bit. So I'm going to put my peppers in now. So they're just going to cook for a few minutes. So I'll pause just now because you don't need to watch me stirring. Okay, so the peppers have been cooking away for a few minutes. You can see the steam coming off. I'm on about temperature setting number 4, but that's just to try and get the excess water out. So if it stops steaming, that means that there's no more water and it's going to start burning. So I'll turn it down a little bit. While I was waiting for this stuff to cook, I've just chopped up some sun-dried tomatoes out of a jar. And so the other thing I'll do, which might actually soak up a bit of moisture, is I'm going to add in these herbs just now. I don't know really when you're supposed to add them in, but it just smells really nice. So I'm taking probably about teaspoons. Oh god, it smells so nice. So yeah, that's about 3 teaspoons. I think I'll put in a wee bit more. These aren't the newest herbs, so they're probably not as potent as they would normally be. That's probably about 4 teaspoons worth that I've put in. So, oh my god, peppers flying everywhere. So peppers are probably sort of softening up now. So I'll put the sun-dried tomatoes in. And the other thing I've got is the artichokes, which most people probably wouldn't use, but I absolutely love them. And these have actually got, these will have a bit of oil on them, so I'm going to turn this down a bit just so that I don't start burning anything. So I'm probably just going to put, I don't know, maybe 6 pieces, something like that, or maybe a bit more. Artichoke's really expensive, so that's the only reason why I wouldn't use the whole jar. I do really like it, but it's very pricey. So you sometimes get it in Aldi, which is obviously cheaper. That's actually Asda as well, so most places do it now, sell them. You could chop them up a little bit smaller as well, but I think they'll probably sort of come apart a little bit while you're cooking it anyway. Oh, it smells lovely. I wish you could smell it. So that's basically all the kind of, let's say, not quite raw ingredients, but that's everything that's going in, and everything else that goes in now is basically, I'm going to put in a tin of tomatoes, I'm going to put in a squirt of tomato puree, and I'm going to I'll add in a tin of tuna. I should probably add a bit more, I mean, I'm being a bit tight here, but anyway, I won't, because tuna is also very expensive. Yeah, I'll add in a tin of tuna, and then if I get any spinach later, I'll add in a whole bag of spinach will go in here, and it all wilts down to nothing. So once I've done that, basically the next thing I'm going to do is just leave it to cool down. I'm going to stick it in the fridge, and I'm probably not going to touch it until tomorrow because it'll taste so much nicer. I suppose the only thing I might do is if I portion it up, then I can freeze it, and it's really fresh then. You've frozen it immediately. It tastes amazing when you defrost it. This mixture here, well, actually the peppers were out of date, so I should probably try and eat it as quickly as I can, although it's all going to be cooked now. Normally you would look at your ingredients, and the ingredient that goes out of date first, that's the kind of date when everything should be eaten by in that dish. That's your food hygiene stuff. I'm a little bit more slapdash about it, only because it's me that's eating it, so if I get sick, it's my own fault. So anyway, I'm going to add everything in, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I'm done, but I'll pause it just now because it's boring. Okay, so I've added my tinned tomatoes and the tomato puree. I'm just going to let it warm up gently now. The other thing I need to add, obviously, is salt and pepper. Now, the only thing with making it this way rather than using a jar of pasta sauce, which I often do, is that it's a little bit bitter sometimes. So the easiest way to deal with that is to put some sugar in it. Probably like a teaspoon or something. I don't really do that because I will soften it maybe by adding in, guess what, cheese. So it's up to you. You can, and this whole mixture with the veg and everything, I do exactly the same thing with a jar of pasta sauce. I'm just using up some tins that I've got just now. But obviously, it's when you buy a jar of pasta sauce, it's probably full of sugar, which is why it tastes so nice. So if you're wanting to be healthy, then this is probably the best way to do it. I don't know if you've got any suggestions about how to sweeten it up without using actual sugar. I suppose you could maybe put a bit of honey in. I don't like honey, so I wouldn't do that. But yeah, you could put honey in, actually. That would probably sweeten it up, and that's maybe a bit healthier than sugar. So basically that's it, apart from adding in my tuna, and then I'll add in, I'll leave that till last because it's already cooked. It doesn't need to be cooked again. I'll probably leave this to simmer a little bit with the tomatoes and stuff for maybe like 5 minutes or something, just to make sure everything's cooked. But the thing with this is that you're always going to be recooking it. So I'll portion it up, and then I might cook it into lasagna. I might have it with pasta. I might have it with just, you know, like I said, barley or whatever. If you were going to add in barley, make sure you cook it first and then add it in, because it's probably going to absorb some of the liquids. I've just used 1 tin of tomatoes here, which is absolutely fine for that amount of veg. So that was 3 peppers, 1 onion, a tin of tomatoes, a few, you know, sun-dried tomatoes and stuff. I'll put in a normal sized tin of tuna. So it's, and that will definitely do me, I mean, I suppose at least 4 meals, possibly 6, possibly 5, let's say. If you make it in with lasagna, then you can obviously, you know, you can use your cheese sauce and stuff. Okay, so that's it. Good luck.